Welcome to the Stiff Truth.
Ooh, yeah, with some smooth jazz.
I am Bob Smooth Jazz West, and I am here with Scott Casanova.
Hey, hey.
We're going to give you the top 20 countdown of smooth hits.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
how the hell are you, Scott? Last show of 2022. How
It
about
really
that?
is. It really is. I think it's a great way to wrap it up. I'm doing pretty damn good right now. And I'll tell you what, Bob, got a lot of things in my mind, a lot of things that I want to talk about with you. But first and foremost here is definitely this cocktail. Now, this is not some exotic, random, far-fetched, strange kind of cocktail here. This is a Stiff Truth favorite, but it's done the right way as we're ending the year here. And there it is. Look at that. That, my friend, is a White Russian done holiday season. We're going to say it Christmas style here. That's right, baby. And I don't know about you, but I had fun with mine here. Now, we both talked about this before we get into how much we love these bad boys, because we both do. Um, you got to make it Christmas style, right? You got to make it holiday style. A White Russian is already kind of there. You know what I mean? You got the vodka, you got the Kahlua, you got the heavy cream, half and half milk, whatever you want to use. Get that bitch stirred up and enjoy. I myself decided to do a mixture for my white, we'll call it, instead of just half and half or milk. I did like a mixture of half and half and eggnog with a little bit of cinnamon, and then to your suggestion, top that bitch off with some whipped cream. And my goodness, is this delectable? I'll tell you
Doesn't the
what.
whipped cream just put it right over the edge?
It really does. Now, this is probably like a 400 calorie drink. I'm not gonna lie. This is a heavy one. This is not a skinny White Russian, by any means. But goddamn, that
But
cinnamon too.
you know what? They're not made to just kick on back half a dozen tall boys like Michelob Ultra with their 2.9 grams of carbs and their delicious crisp taste. No, these are made to have one or two, just kind of prime the pump slowly, enjoy it. It's a very succulent drink. If you're a creamy kind of guy, which I know you are, Scott. If you're a creamy kind of
Goddamn
guy,
right.
this is a great drink. And White Russians and Scott and I go back 20 years. We have been drinking White Russians
Mhm.
forever.
That's true.
In fact, when the Big Lebowski, was a thing, and we were watching that a lot. I think that played a lot of influence on initially me trying it, because if it's good enough for the dude, it's good enough for me. And then I started drinking them. I was like, you know what? This is a fucking fantastic drink. I see why he drinks them all the time.
I agree 100%. And I'll sit here and act like I'm not an impressionable kind of guy, but with when Jeff Bridges enjoys this amazing cocktail, being the ultimate carefree cavalier badass that is the dude in the Big Lebowski, you're like, you know what? I've had a White Russian before, but I feel like I haven't really experienced one yet. Maybe I need to get in there and have a few more and do it more in not just social settings here, but in everyday activities, right? Like make a White Russian when you're doing your laundry at the laundromat, make a White Russian when you're going to the bank. I mean, you really got to get in there and start really just immersing yourself in the awe and wonder that is the White Russian. And I'll tell you what, I think it's the I think it's the decadence and the sweetness, right? And the little bit of guiltiness that you feel with the White Russian, because it is so creamy and heavy, which again, we both love heavy and cream, right? Just that combination, the heaviness.
I love it creamy. Just get
Yes,
it in
yes.
my mouth.
Yeah. Soundbite. We're taking that. We're running with that one. If anybody cared, they'd run with that one. But yes, and dude, if you church this up, that's right, I said it. If you church this up a little bit more, you know what that means to me, Bob? Make it unbelievable. Make it more like a fairy tale. So if you church it up a little bit more, you've got yourself a Christmas White Russian. Christmas White Russian. There it is. Mm.
So I did Christmas mine up a little bit.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
I've been buying a bunch of treats and goodies throughout the house because you know me. I'm always a sucker for Christmas. I like to give my children the magic of Christmas. So there's always Christmas goodies. There's Christmas cookies. There's chocolates. There's the peppermint barks. There's always those around the house. There's candy canes. There's,
Right. And they're for the kids, right? The
yeah, of course.
kids. Yeah.
So I got a huge like bucket of those like round peppermint balls that are
Oh, we
kind of
love them.
soft like wedding mints. So I got one of those in each, and I crushed them all up in the bag and sprinkled those on top of my whipped cream to really Christmas it up a little bit. And I gotta say, I'm not disappointed that I did that. Now, if you want to Christmas up your White Russian, go ahead and ram your glass with simple syrup and hit it up with some crushed peppermint or candy cane around the glass. It adds for that extraness. It'll adhere to the simple syrup and kind of harden around the outside of the glass. So essentially it gives you hard candy every time you take a drink. You can leave it on there for several drinks. Just, a word of advice for Christmas alcoholics.
Right. And alternatively, if you want to Christmas up your White Russian, maybe just have Bob kind of like tongue it and mouth it after he gives you a rim instead of rimming the glass. So there is that too. You know what I mean? Because all those ingredients will be there.
Did you have a candy cane last night?
Last night. Gross. Oh, good stuff though. I'll tell you what, because if I don't know if it's been somewhat conscious, someone not so conscious, but I've dialed it back a little bit on the amount of drink I've had during the show in the past few weeks, whatever. But for sure today had to make a double O. See, a little double. So
I'm with you on that. Well, these are just, it's one of the faves. I look forward to White Russians. I look forward to Christmas because to me, a White Russian and Christmas, they go hand in hand.
See what I did here too? I wanted to see, and again, you know me, a stickler for the rules. So I was like, you know what? Let me make it traditional style in this glass, this low ball glass. Let me also do it in a highball glass. See how it feels. And I'll tell you what,
it's very classy looking.
It's very classy, and it's just about the exact same proportions that fit in there. So have it any way you want it, kids. And God forbid here, I don't want to be ignorant and assume that everybody out there knows how to make White Russian. So for those people now kind of like biting the skin off their fingernails like Bob does, just in anticipation and anxiety of how the hell they're going to enjoy this drink when they have no idea how to make it, calm down. Calm your tits, as they say out there, because I'm going to lay it out for you real quick here. Traditionally, it's 1-for-1, 1 ounce of vodka, 1 ounce of Kahlua, and then fill the rest of that tall glass with ice with whatever you choose. You could do skim milk if you want to be a little bitch. You can do whole milk if you want to like not quite get there. You can do half and half. You can do heavy cream. You can do a combination. If you're going to Christmas it up too, you can throw some eggnog in there like I did. There's no need to shake that bitch. You can leave Michael J. Fox alone. He's really had enough. Okay, we've given him enough hell for a little while. So just go ahead and stir this bitch up instead and enjoy. And if you want to throw some cinnamon on there, I definitely advise doing that again if you want to give it the little Christmas touch. And there you are, a White Russian. Now, with that being said, me and Bob here enjoy our drinks. So we went ahead, not even purposely, just by habit, poured shots versus 1 ounces of these. And it's a 1-to-1 mixture, as you know. So we had to go ahead and make them a little bit stronger than they're supposed to be. But I think that's on par with the show. So I think that's fine. I'll be honest with you, I'm not even sure why I mentioned it. Just for transparency. Here on the Striff Truth, I don't like to hide anything. You know what I mean? Like, just shoot from the hip, let everybody know really what's going on here, Bob. Like that lovely fire that you have in the background that's right now warming your back. That's a nice one.
Yeah, and those flames are like eerily still. It's weird.
It's a really strange fire. Hey, dude, all I can say is climate change. You know what I mean? There's less oxygen in the air, something like that. Who knows what's going on? But outside of our lovely cocktails today, we do have some pretty fun stuff to talk about today. I want to get into that right now. If you're okay, we're going to transition from talking about the drink and talking about something else. But before I do that, are you going to be okay with that? Because I'm a real nice guy. I want to make sure I'm not taking you for a ride.
No, I'm good. I think we've covered this. It's something that we've done. I think now every season we've had a show with White Russians around Christmas because it's just kind of how we roll.
It's funny too, because remember earlier in the week here, again, giving everybody a peek behind the curtain, we do have conversations about what we're going to be doing for the show. We call it You know,
Meetings.
yeah,
We
meetings.
call them meetings.
We call it getting ready. We call it work to a certain extent. But like, what the hell are we going to drink this week, man? Like, what goes with some of these topics we're going to talk about? And you're like, dude, it's the last show of the year. We're not going to do it next weekend because it's Christmas, and the weekend after that's New Year's and my wife's birthday. So we're like, we need to do White Russians. Like, what are we even? Why are we even second guessing like our standard protocol here at the end of the year? So good call, Bob, keeping me honest as always. Now, speaking of keeping people honest, or maybe the lack thereof doing so, cryptocurrency, boy, I mean, they are fighting tooth and nail to get some legitimacy in the world, right? And what happened recently here, and unless you've been under a rock, FTX is a cryptocurrency. Well, we'll just say was a cryptocurrency to a large extent. I don't think that's going to be much of anything anymore, but I'm sure everybody's heard recently there's been to date the largest, biggest, kind of most epic Ponzi scheme, worse than Madoff, worse than Enron. Here we are, enter our good friend of the show. Well, not so much now. We're trying to distance ourselves from Mr. Sam Bankman-Fried, or as the all the kids like to call him today, SBF. Bob, have you had a chance to kind of get into this a little bit balls deep style?
Yeah, I mean, it's a common theme.
Yeah.
Right? Greed led to misappropriations of money that wasn't yours. And is leading to criminal charges potentially. They're still trying to figure out exactly what charges for SBF, but right now he's in the Bahamian jail at the request of the US. So he hasn't even been charged yet. They're kind of formulating the charges in the US right now and civil cases. Interesting thing. So apparently, you know, there's the logistics of it, and he like used the firm's equity to like funnel into another company that he owned, then to circle back and buy more of the coin that FTX had created to help further some of their assets and profits, right? But which if you're using other people's money to boost up something, then to buy more of it, that's a classic Ponzi scheme, right?
Yeah,
But
it sounds a bit, as the kids say, sus, right?
yeah, super sus, super Ponzi scheme-ish. And the weird thing is it's just all due to a lack of leadership. It didn't have to do it. In the end, FTX, for those that don't know, it's just a crypto exchange. That's
Yeah.
all it is. It's just a place that hosts crypto exchange. It's no different than Robinhood. It's no different than
Coinbase.
Webull, Coinbase,
Yeah.
Binance. It's just an exchange, a place where that buys and sells coins that you can exchange your currencies on. And they wanted to take it a step farther. When the market started to dip, they had to start getting creative because they had already started to skew away from their original business model. And this is the kind of thing that happens in market turndowns, right?
People
Because
get desperate too.
you
Yeah.
want to keep making money for your investors. You want to keep driving it forward, but sometimes you just have to take the lump with everyone else in the market, and everyone understands. The investors are invested in other things. They know that nothing is making money kind of right now. And 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 Sam refused to do that. Right? He wanted to get creative, and by get creative, meaning get illegal.
very,
So
very much so. Very much so. Yes.
so now he's gotten caught up, and I mean, in the end, he turned something that was actually a good thing into a Madoff scheme.
Yeah. And something potentially that's going to take a very it's gonna deal a very heavy blow to cryptocurrency in general,
It already
right?
has.
Yeah, in the face of the global finance realm, that they were again fighting very hard to gain legitimacy and getting it in a lot of places. Now they've just taken 10 steps back in a large degree because of this. Because again, like, you can sit here and say this, like, hey, this happened in the traditional like banking and finance world. Bernie Madoff, right? Enron, what have you, right? So it's one of those things that, yes, it will happen. It will happen anywhere. Like you were just laying out, all you need is kind of like the right storm, the perfect storm, so to speak. You got a downturn, you got people getting desperate to continue to show gains to their people, right? That keep them going, which are their investors. And sometimes you do things that are a little bit shady to get there, especially when you're getting desperate. So it is what it is in the sense like this could have happened anywhere, but that it happened in this market, in this industry at this time was just really bad for business in general, because it puts everybody, back a few steps, like I was saying.
And
The other thing
honestly, Scott, another thing it does is now there's really only a couple of currency exchanges for crypto that are reputable. Now there's Coinbase,
Binance,
and Binance. That's it.
yeah.
So and this was actually kind of broke the market up a little bit and gave you options, but now Coinbase and Binance are going to fight it out, probably to monopolize and just become the exchange, similar to the New York Stock Exchange.
Yeah, true. And the other thing that I think is very
Sorry to
ironic and
interrupt.
interesting too. No, you're fine. The other thing that's ironic and interesting about all this too is the whole value for a lot of people of cryptocurrency is to avoid regulation, right? I mean, that if you sum up why people got into crypto originally, it was to avoid regulation and basically eliminate paper trail. Again, a lot of this was done initially for shady kind of dark web things and all that kind of stuff, but it's gained a lot of other applications that are actually wholesome. But that also has backfired with what the downfall is here, because again, the scrutiny, the potential for regulation has just gotten that much stronger in the face of what's going on right now. Because now, I mean, dude, anybody doing anything in cryptocurrency, especially anybody making a lot of money in the cryptocurrency industry, is going to be highly scrutinized and potentially regulated way more, or the want and need for regulation is definitely going to be there. So there's that as well. I think the other thing that's interesting too is the political implications here. As you know, Mr. SBF. Yes, SBF. Sorry. I always have to think about sunblock and then I just switch the middle letter there. And that really gets me to where I need to be with SBF. But the other thing too is that like there seemed to be, with a lot of the funds that he was misappropriating, went to big media outlets and then also publicly to a lot of Democratic donors and Democratic politicians, and then secretly under the table to conservative politicians. Now, that makes sense. This is where Sam is not a dumb guy, right? He wants to grease the pockets of everybody that could potentially get in his way. So the media and the right and the left, that makes total sense to me. However, now with him getting in trouble, this also is creating some issues here on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah, and it's a real shame because to add on, cryptocurrency came around, and like you said, it was first recognized and utilized by smart entrepreneurial criminals. Right, this is how we're going to get under the table cash.
That's a nice way to put it, though. Smart entrepreneurial criminals. Yeah,
it's true because dumb criminals wouldn't know how to work it, right? But
right.
So that's kind of the way, and that's kind of like people were paying for humans, drugs, like in whatever black market stuff that they were paying for, and it got a really bad rap earlier in the 20 teens, right? But then lately, more applications started coming around, right? And I think I've said on the show before, like the algorithm is so strong with the encryption at this point that only supercomputers that are made of the nano computer, what are they called? I forgot. The computers that are
I don't even know what you're talking about, Bob. Nano computers. Let me see.
Well, anyway, only like there's like 5 like atomic computers in the world or whatever they're called. And they could break the encryption of Bitcoin, right? But
quantum computers?
Quantum computer, thank you.
Yeah.
And unless you have one of those, all the regular people can never touch it. So it's like super secure because of all the energy, literally, that has been invested into this algorithm to develop this unbreakable code. And so I've gotten my diploma digitally from Bitcoin, because they locked it and secured it and sent it to me over the internet through this like really heavy, like 26 password encrypted crazy ass thing. So and I got a digital copy of my diploma that way. But that's just a kind of an example. Like people say that crypto is fake, but it's very much not fake.
Mhm.
Billions and billions, if not trillions of dollars have been dumped in, and countless amount of energy that is created from fossil fuels that our current state mostly has been put in to make this algorithm, to
Mhm.
make this
Mhm.
thing, which makes it a tangible, functional, heavily invested thing. So when people are like, why is Bitcoin $16,000 per? That's why. It costs a lot to make that. It
Mhm.
has a value. And,
Mhm.
and a lot of people don't trust that because they can't see it. And it's just like I tell my kids sometimes, well, you can't see wind, right? But
Yeah.
it exists.
Yeah.
Right. And just as like it's really starting to gain utility and function and start to get accepted. Um,
Yeah.
this couldn't come in a worse time for crypto in general, for the general
Mhm.
public, because
Mhm.
people were starting to invest in it. It was starting to become a normal commodity. A lot of people are saying have 10% of your portfolio crypto, you know.
Dude, Stash just reorganized my smart profile to have less crypto, but still some. And they sent me an email explaining the reasoning why. Like, hey, we still see a future on cryptocurrency. However, we're scaling things back a little bit here. And I'm like, well, of course you are, smartly so. But this is the reaction to what just happened. Like you said, I mean, to carry on a little bit further, too, gain legitimacy and acceptance. Absolutely. There's like 7 to 10 big celebrities that are under fire right now, unrightfully so, because it's not their fault. They were literally just paid spokesmen. But again, Shaquille O'Neal, Larry David, a couple others for FTX, right? That here's the dangerous thing that again, it's not their fault, but you start having the layperson that doesn't know anything. They see Shaquille O'Neal backing up cryptocurrency exchanges on TV about it. It's like, I don't really know anything about cryptocurrency, but if it's cool with Shaq, it must be cool with me. You know what I mean? Like, it was literally gaining like a lot of momentum. And to your point, again, worst possible time because it literally took that snowball and just knocked it off the fucking hill. You know what
Now,
I
for
mean?
most people, me and you got burned about 18 months ago.
Yeah, this
And
is true.
we're already cautiously optimistic about crypto at this point anyway, even though not ready to abandon it, still cautiously optimistic about it. Much less so than I was a couple of years ago.
This is true.
I
This is
do
very
think
true.
it'll come around because there's utility in it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the problem with crypto right now is there's so many cryptos that have no utility and they're just straight Ponzi schemes. They're just trying to get it popular out there to get people to buy it so that the people that created it and all the money that they have or coin that they have in that currency can then sell it while it's high and leave everyone else holding the bag of this worthless utilityless coin that has no value of anything. All right.
Right.
And then there's a lot of that going on right now. Ethereum and Bitcoin are not like that.
No.
Ethereum based things have value. There's software, there's exchanges, there's a lot of things that could be done off of them. But all these coins like Doge, that's a coin that has value simply because it gained popularity, and that's fine. There's
No.
room for that. Something can have value because it gained popularity. The US dollar
Yeah.
is exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
has value because it's popular.
And it's not backed by gold since the 1970s, right? We
Right.
abandoned that a long time ago. So yet it has inherent value because we believe it does to a large
Right.
extent,
It's a
right? You know what I mean?
utility-less asset.
Mm-hmm,
All
mm-hmm.
right.
Now,
So
yeah,
again, though, but you have Giselle and Tom, which I believe not only backed it with commercials,
yeah.
but actually invested tens to maybe even hundreds of millions of dollars with FTX. So ouch, that hurts. Shaq, Steph Curry,
Mm-hmm,
Larry David was in the Super Bowl commercial last year.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So tons of celebrities. In fact, a lot of investors are trying to go after the celebrities for all of this, but I think those are all going to get thrown out with frivolous lawsuits because that's just never going to hold mustard, right?
And honestly, let's think about that real quick. That's an unrealistic scapegoat here. You know what I mean? Like I was just talking about, these are paid sponsors at the end of the day, right? Like they have no now unless they were in the know of all of the deception and the illegality going on, which goddamn well there's no way in fucking hell they're going to be able to
No,
prove that with any
no.
of these
Sam Bankman
celebrities.
gave him a smile, gave him a check,
Yeah.
shot the commercial with them, and then sent them on their way.
And here's the other thing. I want to go ahead and talk about this because it's almost like an assumed thing for a lot of people. And in my mind, I was like, wait, no, why should they do that? Fuck them. But a lot of people's like, well, a lot of these news media outlets and a lot of these politicians, a lot of these celebrities should give the money back. I'm like, why? Why should they do that? If Friedman's going to be like fucking getting crucified, you know, literally and also financially, this should just be part of it for him where they can keep their money. Now, if they choose to donate it to charity for optics, I think that's a good thing that each of these people do that, like the politicians and the news outlets and the celebrities. But for them to be called out like it's partially their fault and they need to forfeit the funds completely, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that at all. I don't believe in that. I feel like at this point, take the money from the guy, but do something nice with it, is what I'm kind of saying. You know what I
No,
mean?
it's fucking nonsense. I'm gonna give us the first retarded of the day. Well, technically it'll be the second.
There he is. There he is.
It's
There he
fucking
is.
retarded.
There it
you
is.
can't sue a company. Tom Brady did not misallocate your funds. Sam Bankman-Fried did. Tom Brady simply took a check and cashed it. And by the way, that check cleared. There was no fraud that was evident
Now,
or scamming or anything going on at that time, even though it was, the market hadn't made it upside down.
now, if I want to put my degrees of separation together hat on right now, you could say that, me as a lay person here wasn't really buying into crypto. They saw Tom Brady on a commercial or got wind of his investment in FTX, decided to full bore put all their chips on the table and push him forward and said, you know what, I'm all in because Tom fucking Brady, and then they lost all their money. I guess you could maybe say that Tom Brady's image and influence partially swayed their judgment, but should they be responsible for fucking retarded people that do things just because famous people do them? That's 3.
No, because that makes them retarded.
That's 4. Oh goodness.
So anyway, and it sucks. A lot of people lost money. I never had any FTX coin or anything, so I'm kind of out of this. I had Doge and I didn't sell it when it was 74 cents. That bums me out.
Yeah,
but I did. I can't say that though. I did make a couple $1,000s off of Doge.
See, I did not. I think we talked about this. It's not a lot. It's not a showstopper or anything. I think I put a little bit over a G in cryptocurrency and ended up cashing out 30% of that or something like that when it was all.
But by choice, you could have left it in and waited and see if it turned back up. But you needed the $300 or whatever, right?
It was. I think enough was enough in my mind of I was like, all right, dude, this is, and then we're looking forward to a crypto winter here, and it's going to get even worse. I was like, I don't have time right now to be in on the ground floor on this. I'm going to go ahead and pull this out and put my money somewhere else.
Since coin, which is, like I said, probably the most value out of anything tangibly, since 1,000 again, and we've seen it go up to 70,000. Is it something that you'd be interested in throwing a G at?
Well, I'll tell you this. Maybe the second most interesting thing, because the first thing I'm going to throw a G in is Donald Trump hero trading cards. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm in it to win it. Now, this is the hot new thing. Ground floor, gonna blow up. And you already know this. I don't even need to sell this, Bob, because it's Donald J. Trump ripping his shirt open with Superman underneath. That's just one of the cards, Bob. But I don't know if you've heard anything about this, but that's where I'm putting my dough right now. Because it is quasi cryptocurrency-esque in the sense that it's an NFT. Have you heard about all this?
I have. And so, first off, I loathe Donald Trump.
Yeah, we know.
As a politician.
Right? we can tell.
But I love Donald Trump as a character on the TV. Right. If he's not actually running things that involve me, I'm okay with observing Donald Trump in his life as a people watcher. I'm a fan. I love this guy. It's nonstop entertainment, right? But
he's classic.
Again, if he's not in charge of things that are involving me, I'm okay with Donald Trump. Always have been. But I've got to say, I want every last one of these NFTs.
I do too.
I mean, and some of them are $100, but can I buy the 99-cent ones and send out was it QR codes? QR codes? Is it the
yeah.
And send out the codes to in Christmas cards.
Yeah.
Here's your Donald Trump, because my parents would fucking love that. They're like, I don't even know what this is. Oh, just scan the code. It's a picture of Trump in a superhero fucking thing. My mom would do a backflip over that. She is so much a Trump person. So I don't know. I would love it. And to send to my friends and family, well, my friends, because like none of my family doesn't like Donald Trump, I don't think. But to send to my friends that also despise Donald Trump would be awesome too. Like, here's your like totally trolled him. Like, here's your Trump NFT. You're welcome. Merry Christmas.
You know what's interesting about this too is like it's not a bad idea, but again, if we talk about timing with what's going on with the crypto market and when he released these NFTs and what's been going on with NFTs in the recent months, it is interesting because it looks like he's going to take a substantial loss here.
Dude, what if these came out 2 years ago? Trump would have made hundreds of millions of dollars off of it.
Dude, right before the 2020 election, like right before, like when he was most polarizing, but yet most popular at the same time. And NFTs and the crypto market was just booming on a huge upward trajectory. I mean, you just talked about it, dude. Bitcoin plus or minus 16,000. Back then, 65,000. That's 4 times roughly the amount that it is right now. Meaning he probably, and you know how he loves to make a buck. This guy is Mr. Quick Buck. You know what I mean?
I fucking love it. He's capitalism personified.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, dude, he buried his ex-wife on his golf course so he could get a tax credit. Like, he can't even like give her decent like burial and respect after death. It's just like, here, I'm just gonna bury you here to save a few bucks.
You know what's interesting? Again, the wonder and mystery of Donald Trump. Why does that make me laugh? And why does that make me laugh like in a comedy, like comedic, upbeat way? It doesn't even make me sad. It's actually it's kind of morbid and strange, but yet he did it, and you know why he did it, and it's right in there with his MO, and I love it. I just love it, dude. I'm gonna say this.
There's something to be said for consistency.
We talked about this earlier with Dak Prescott. You know what I mean?
We can get into that after this.
By the way, hey, RIP to just the game today. That was a tough one, bro. That was a real tough one. But like we talked about, Jacksonville is on the up and up. Watch out for Trevor Lawrence.
Right. Let me just, since we're digressing here, let me fully digress.
Okay, go ahead. He's got to say some things.
Last season, Dak got paid $40 million a year. Like he's fucking Aaron Rodgers, which I get it. That was the top quarterback in the market. He was the top 10 quarterback in almost every statistical category at the time. I get it. But the argument was you're going to pay this guy like a $40 million guy. And the last 2 weeks, in the final few minutes of the game, Dak has guided the team down for a go-ahead touchdown, right? Which makes you think he's worth $40 million. But then the other side of the argument comes along. Oh, they had to punt. Now they're going into overtime. And then Dak fucking throws a touchdown to the other team. Again, this is why people said not to pay you. You know, so in one game, he shows you exactly the hesitancy of if he needed that contract or not. You know, I'm going to go win this game and lose this game within 20 actual minutes in real life.
I'm going to say this, Bob, and Bob, please don't get upset at me. Okay. Remember, we're friends. We're the best of friends, Bob, right? I'm just going to ask you to confirm with me. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, good.
100%.
Now I've got a confirmation from you. So now you can't get mad at me. And if you do, you're going to feel like an asshole. But because of Dak's play and because of this being a consistent theme, I think this is why I feel okay saying that they're gonna get to the playoffs and they're gonna lose. And it's going to be Dak's fault. And it's just going to happen. Now, I know that's rough. I know right there.
Now, hold on. I don't know if Dak can be reached. Like, meaning, intellectually. I don't know if he can be reached and find common ground. I don't know if he's coachable in this manner. Dak has kind of a little bit of Tony Romo in him. Tony Romo's biggest downfall was that he could go win you a game
when there's nothing on the line.
Well, no, even if there's something on the line, he could win you a game. He's got the skill set. The problem with Tony Romo is he would try to win you a game when he didn't have to. And that led to mistakes.
Are we talking about maybe an element of hero ball here?
And then that's what Dak does. He does things to go win a game when the game doesn't need to be won. If Dak wants to win a game, he's got to turn around and hand the ball off to number 20 and number 21 behind the 3 Hall of Fame linemen and let them go to work. That's what Dak has to do to win the game.
Legitimately, and I'm not going to even like split hairs here. the top 1 or 2 running back duo in the league right now. You know what I mean? Like that's who you have in the backfield. So instead of throwing the pick like he did today, just push it. Just push it as much as you can. Maybe play action at on a third or second down after you do it a little while.
If you don't get it and you have to like make a play, throw it to a cheerleader, try to hit her in the ass and kick the ball, because your defense has a better chance at scoring a game-winning touchdown than Dak does. So just give it to one of the best defenses in the league and make Trevor Lawrence fight it out with that defense again and again and again and see how that's going to work out for him.
Now,
instead of Dak playing hero ball and throwing 2 timely picks that really lost the game. This one's on Dak 100%. There's nothing. One, he was just a bad throw, and the other was off someone's hands. But still, why are you even throwing that ball? Oh, it looks questionable. Just sail it, dude. Just sail it and punt it. Your defense got it. Just sail it, punt it. Give number 11 a couple more sacks and let them go score the touchdown or go fuck up that offense, because that's what they do. They're a terrifying defense. And it was really sad to see the hero ball come in at 2 points of the game where there wasn't a play that had to be made at all.
Yeah, it's tough. And again, I didn't want to drag us into this too much, but I figured we're gonna have to talk about it a little bit. I mean,
I was gonna get there right after this, but no, that's okay.
It's a fresh wound. You know what I mean? We watched it. It was tough, but again, we'll get back to it here in the sense that Donald Trump very consistent as well. Very consistent.
He's way more consistent than Dak.
Wow. Look at that. You literally just gave Donald a compliment over your starting quarterback. Do you realize that? That's how salty you are right now. That's a lot of salt is all I got to say.
I don't know. Cooper Rush would have thrown that pick. Cooper Rush probably wouldn't have thrown it at all. Not in the field of play.
Calling all cards here,
Cooper Rush would have thrown that to a fan.
That's tough times, man. But yes, and again, I will be getting some Donald Trump playing cards. I mean, look at my background right now. I'm not so much with I just am going hunting for duck. I'm not so much up with that one, but the superhero-esque, I have like Cyclops, like, power of eyes, and then also the big T on his chest with the skin tight, red spandex, we'll call it, because we know Trump is that buff. You know what I mean? That's a good one right there. Like breaking out of his business
that buff
suit.
Underneath like 50 pounds of, extra.
50 pounds of
extra.
We'll call it 50 pounds of McDonald's. Essentially is what he's working with there.
I don't know. I can't throw stones in that glass house. So
you're like, whatever, Scott. Let's move along. Something else. We got one more topic we want to talk about, but it's something I wanted to just kick around here. Maybe just throw something in the mix, just free balling it, as they say here, is cold showers. How you feeling about that, buddy?
I wanted to bring that up too.
I'm right with you, buddy. I'm right with you, man.
So a few days ago, I'd read my final article. Some have come from you.
Oh yeah, but I've sent you like 2 or 3 over the past month or so.
I read my final article and saw one too many TikToks about the benefits of cold showers, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna fucking try it. They seem like there's no negatives and there's only positives about cold showers, right? So I took one, and the first day I thought I was going to have a stroke. The back right of my neck was cramping up. I couldn't breathe. Like it was tough. It was really bad. And it's like winter, so it takes the water's extra cold, So so it was just really brutal. It took me a while to get through it, which is ironic because you want to just get in and get your business done and get out. The next day wasn't so bad, and then today was an interesting day. So I get a message from you saying, hey, I did you know what? I'm not even going to undersell this. I'm just going to read what Scott sent me today. So Scott hits me up and he says, did the cold shower. Wowza. That sucked, but feels good now. And that's the essence of the cold shower. Yeah. It does suck.
It sucks really bad.
It sucks really bad. And you're like wondering, like, why do I do this to myself? But that punishment, that self-deprecating punishment is it works out in the end because it gives you so much of a mental edge. Like you just kick today right in the balls when you take your cold shower.
Well, and I think it's the epitome of doing something you don't want to do because you know it's going to be extremely painful and uncomfortable and not feel good, but you know that the reason you should do it is because there's a lot of benefits to your mental and physical state. So it's like the same as everything else. You could group them all together, right? Like, why don't I eat healthy? Because fucking horrible food tastes great. Why don't I exercise? Because I'm fucking lazy and I don't want to exert energy right now. Why don't you do this project?
I think he's
Because
talking to me directly.
oh, I like the royal we here. They're like, why am I not doing this assignment or this project? Because I don't want to, because I want to do this, and it stresses me out. Like there's all these things that we procrastinate and or never do because of the fear of being uncomfortable, painful, stressed out of your comfort zone, embarrassed, whatever it is, right? But usually those things that are painful, I'll say almost always, are better for you in any way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? And I think the cold shower is like that this is the essence of that feeling and overcoming that. And being able to do it is a big feat. We were talking about it earlier. Like I again, I cold pipes up here, bud. Cold pipes. It's maybe a little bit colder here than it is. Yeah. So as you normally do when you get in the shower in the morning, you're kind of like half asleep or whatever. And I did a workout before I did this, right? So I was already kind of worked up or what have you. But you throw your hand in the shower to feel the water, because usually as a regular person, you don't get in that fucking shower until that thing is like burning your skin kind of hot. And I put it in there 3 times and I was like, holy shit, that's really fucking cold. And then look, dude, I did it 3 times. And the third time I took my hand out with the water all over me and like rubbed it on like my chest and stomach to see if I could handle it. And I was like, oh shit, that's really cold. And I was like, fuck it, dude, fuck it. Just get in this bad boy. And then get in there. Dude, the hyperventilation, the breathing exercises had to kick in. Very uncomfortable. But yeah, at the same time, by the time I had shut the water off, I was literally, no bullshit, in a different state of mind. Like, dude, head buzzing, a little bit strange feeling on somewhat of a mental high as well. It was interesting, bro. It was interesting.
The
Now,
endorphins were definitely raging, right?
they were in, and I think we had talked about it maybe offline or whatever, but doing a lot of research on this in recent months or whatever, I've been very, very, very just interested in this whole concept of just cold therapy in general. And I think one of the major things that it does is it stimulates a natural reaction within your body, which is basically survival mode, right? When you feel extremely cold, parts of your body start releasing a lot of like chemicals and endorphins and other things in your body to kind of help with survival. And these things are very, very instrumental and positive for your physical well-being. And kickstarting those things and forcing them out when they really don't need to be, because we're hardly ever in any kind of survival mode with how posh lives are in the 21st century. It's something that is very cool. I'm enjoying it. I'll just say that in a sick way.
Well, so today during the game, my son's like, I'm gonna take a cold shower because he was listening to our back and forth the last couple of days, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna try it, and like see how it like helps my mental attitude. See how I was like, go for it, dude. It's ballsy. I like your balls. Go get some, right? And I was like, just know, psych yourself up. And
It's
here's a
gonna
tip.
suck.
Now that I'm 2 days in, here's a tip. Focus on what you have to do and
Yeah.
focus on that. Focus on the scrubbing, not the cold.
Hey,
Right. And the hair and the face and the scrubbing and all that. And I was like, and it'll actually help you get through it if you just keep focusing on what you have to do. And he's like, okay. So he goes and he takes it and he comes back and he's like, well, that sucked. And I was like, yeah, that sucks. And then like it was halftime in my game, and I said I'm taking one at halftime. So then I go to take a cold shower today. Day number 3. I gotta say, it was much better today.
yeah,
It was still cold as balls. I still struggled to breathe when I got in, but I was able to get in and like quickly overcome the shock and focus on what I had to do and start washing my hair and my face and all that stuff right away. And I got through it today on day 3, much, much, much better. So I'd say stick with it. It looks like it's getting better. So that's comforting to know that it does get a little bit better, because that first day is a little fucking jarring, I gotta say.
It's no fun. It's no fun. And what's interesting though too, because I tend to be a good sport myself, is there was some nervous giggling in the shower too. I was like, Jesus Christ, it's so fucking cold, dude. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like, and you had said this too. The motivation to just reach over and turn that hot knob all the way fucking up, you know what I mean, is there, but you just gotta abstain.
I get you 100%. I literally was taking the shower today and adjusting my hair and my face, and I'm just like getting the body scrub again, and I just start laughing. I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. It's like fucking icicles hitting my body.
I pay for hot water. I literally pay for this, and I'm not using it right now.
Not today, you didn't. You saved a little bit of scratch today.
Take that, the man.
That's right. Take that, electric company conglomerate. I'll show you who's boss.
Well, I think this is something we'll follow up on to all the stiffies out there in 2023, because we're just getting started here, but this is apparently I wouldn't say apparently, this is from what I understand, this is a fantastic habit to get into for a variety of reasons, and I think most notably a mental well-being and mental toughness.
And I would say that correct me if I'm wrong, but is this our last show of season 3?
I think it is.
I think it is too.
Yeah.
The end of season 3.
Good for us.
Good for us.
Yeah,
anyway, back to the mental health transition, because I felt you moving there.
I was moving there. And now that you put a dramatic highlighter on the whole idea, take it away. What are we talking about here now?
So Stephen Boss unalived himself a few days ago.
That's a good way to put it.
I didn't know who this person was at all. I saw the story and I was like, oh, I don't know who Twitch is. And then I'm like, oh, they're on the Ellen DeGeneres show or whatever, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that sucks. But then my wife's like, yeah, he was a social media presence. We did a lot of TikToks, he did a lot of YouTube, he did a lot of this, he did a lot of that.
So you think he can dance? Yeah, he did. Yeah,
it did all kinds of stuff. And she's like, and the sad thing is he was like our age,
1982,
and with a wife and like 3 young kids. And that's the part for me that hit home more than any of who he was or what he's accomplished or anything, was simply a father in their early 40s deciding that whatever it is they're facing right now is so difficult that they'd rather just end it all and forego that future with their kids and all that other stuff. And that can only be explained by tremendous sadness and tremendous mental health issues, because nothing could actually justify that decision, no matter how bad it is.
You're correct. And I'm going to take a turn here in the sense that I've got some personal views on what happened here and just suicide. Okay. And I know we'll get into a little bit more here. Mental health is the second, and I'll just say that because of priority now at lives lost, the second most important thing we should be worrying about, right? Number one is fentanyl and the opioid epidemic, because I think that's just a fucking crying shame that so many people are dying about that, and unrightfully so, in the sense that they're doing other things and it's laced with it, what have you, whatever. We'll talk about that later.
Sure.
But my thing with this is suicide in general. Now, I've unfortunately identified and been a part of children that have committed suicide, or teens that have committed suicide. This is very, very sad. This is where the mental health conversation really, really is, I think, extremely important in the sense that, especially for young men and young women too, I think, especially in this day in social media, I think both equally need to be just watched and helped and given more lifelines in this respect altogether, because it's something that they can't control. Their minds aren't even fully developed. There's just a much more legitimate, I think, understanding in my mind on why somebody would go down that path. Now, cut to somebody like Twitch, or somebody like Chester Pennington of Linkin Park, or somebody like whoever, even Kurt Cobain, if you want to say he was actually, if he actually suicided himself, which is a question mark for me because I'm not quite sure about that. But once you make the nonverbal or verbal commitment to take on dependence, right? Once you are responsible for other people, if you decide, no matter what your headspace is, that you just can't take it anymore and you're going to snuff out your own existence, you are doing yourself the biggest disservice and the biggest fucking slap in the face to the people that care about you and rely on you the most. So when I saw this and learned that he had kids, a loving wife, he had great relationships with them, they're youngsters. I mean, they're obviously under the age, all of them under the age of like 15, 14 or something like that, or even lower. That it kind of it pissed me off, Bob. I was like, dude, what a piece of shit. And now again, condolences to him and his family in the sense that it's very, very sad that he's gone. But also in the same light, it makes me very furious and angry that somebody like this would put themselves above the people that they love the most when they are solely the most responsible for the well-being of those other people. Because now without him there and other people that do this, I think it's the biggest fucking selfish thing that you could possibly do, and I have zero respect for it. So that's a hot take here on the Stiff Truth.
And it is pretty hot, and I don't disagree with you. I've always felt that way about suicide, that that's the weakest way to handle anything that anyone could ever do, because that's pushing all of your shit that you were dealing with onto someone else and trading it for their shit. So now your kids are going to have to grow up without a dad and deal with their own mental health issues from that. And you're creating generational trauma. You're creating potential generational wealth and social class issues by you abandoning your family, and you could set up generations of poverty, and who knows what the fucking repercussions are, right?
The least you can do is set your kids up with suicidal thoughts as well, because they have a hole in their upbringing now. You know what I mean? Like there's the simple thing is that like, oh, I feel so bad. You know what? I feel so bad. I'm going to end it also. I don't suffer anymore, but I'm going to make this bad feeling something my kid has to deal with every day for the rest of their life. Awesome, bro.
So I agree with you on that. My only question is, because I don't know. I'm not an expert in mental health by any stretch. So my only thought is that a known? Is that a known with these folks that are committing suicide, especially under 40? And I'll get to why that number is important in a minute.
Sure.
For killing yourself under 40, is that a known thing, or is that the part of the mental health that even though you know that something doesn't trigger in your mind enough to overcome that and still succumb to these weak thoughts? You know what I mean? Like, so if someone was depending on you and you knew that they were depending on you and they're basically helpless, like your children, you know that they need you, and then you still somehow it doesn't click in your mind and you still continue forward down this path. Is that the mental health part that doesn't trigger, right? Is that so? That's the question that I have, because that's an obvious, right? It's just a fucking obvious that you would never do that. And I would tell you this, Scott, most people agree with you, even those that have killed themselves. Did you know that over 52% of people that commit suicide are over the age of 65? More than half of have already lived their adulthood. In fact, their kids are grown and out the house and they're old now.
Well, and see that actually puts another layer on the onion, in the sense like, okay, if I'm 65 years old, somebody like Robin Williams, if I'm like in my early 60s or something like that, I already have a fully grown, very successful daughter. All of a sudden, what I just said doesn't have as much validity to it, right? Because again, those people now are not physically and mentally dependent on you. You've already done what you've done. You've done your duty as a parent. You've cut them loose. They are literally on now. Call you a few times a year now. So that actually makes a lot of sense to me, because it makes more sense to me that people that have like already done their job as parents and guardians that are moving on to another phase of their life, which is quite scary again too. They're moving into their elderly realm. They're kind of like their golden hour or what have you. It makes sense that that has the most level of suicide, man, because they don't have the feelings of guilt that other people rightfully should in their 30s and 40s, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's very strange that, I mean, obviously the older folks are the ones making the decision. And I was talking to my wife about this, and I was like, there's something to be said about deciding your own while it's still in your own hands. Robin Williams committed suicide when he was, I believe, 67. He diagnosed a couple years earlier with like early onset dementia or
Hmm.
some sort of degenerative cognitive abilities,
Sure.
right? And I think he pulled the trigger before that set in. And we all know it's well documented that he's had mental health struggles his whole life,
Sure.
which arguably is what made him such a good comic, right?
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
I'm not saying that I would do it. All I'm saying is that I can understand how one would come to that conclusion logically to go ahead and end it while no one was around and no one could stop you and you can choose your own faith before you become out of control and now you're too weak or you're too out of it mentally to actually be able to make a decision like that. And now someone else that's going to hang on to you even if it's not good for you, kind of like a pet owner, right? At some point, you have to put the pet down, and some people don't. Some people just never will. Some kids will never put their parent down or let them
Right.
go or put them in hospice. Or they'll keep fighting and fighting, even if the parent is like old and saying, "I don't want to no more. I'm
Hmm.
done." If they don't have power of attorney, they get put in a bad spot. I can understand making that decision on your own. I get it. Not saying that I would, not saying that that's even in my makeup or whatever. All I'm saying is that I can logically understand the thought process that you could come to that conclusion. One of the interesting things that this led to, though, because Twitch was a man, right, was I
Hmm.
started looking at just men. And this kind of goes back to our Andrew Tate topic
Hmm.
when we
Hmm.
were talking about men have it really fucking hard these days. Like,
Hmm.
probably harder than it's ever been. Uh, and I know people are like, wow, you don't have to go to war for the Crusades when you're like 13. Well, no, obviously not. But we also have to deal with a lot of stress as providers and perfection. Men have to be this perfection of leadership and all of the circle that men are around, and everyone looks to the man all the time, everywhere. And if you lack those leadership abilities or you lack something that gives you that capability, I can understand how that exponentially can degrade your outlook and your positive mental attitude towards life. I get it.
Hmm.
And so when we're looking into this, it just kind of really struck me that 22 men per 100,000 committed suicide in 2020, I believe this was 2020.
Hmm.
Only 5.5 women. This is in the
Hmm.
world.
Hmm.
So, um, and I thought it was maybe America versus this, and American rates are a little bit higher. This is pretty consistent in all industrialized nations in the world. So, men are just 4 times more likely to commit suicide than women. And I just have to beg the question, like, why the fuck do you think that is? I think it's
Hmm.
pretty glaring at really what that is. But
Hmm.
what would you think that's from, Scott?
I would have to assume, like you're saying, it has to do with an exponential amount of stressors on your psyche. I mean, and not adhering to the standards that you, I guess, should be, right, as society deems. That's what I would assume, because there's a lot on men, and I think there's even more now. We talked about this recently, that there's a lot of people that just don't feel they measure up. And if you don't feel like you measure up and you don't have any validation from your loved ones or your significant other, and that builds up on you, then you're probably going down that path pretty quickly. Now, with that being said, women have been oppressed more than men for a long, long time, for history, right? But I think the tables are turning a little bit and the dynamics are changing a little bit, which is making it maybe a little bit tougher for men right now. That would be my number one assumption. The other assumption that I can make is that men just do more dramatic things when it comes to physical actions. I think that's historic, right? I mean, that's why serial killers are almost 99% men. When things need to go up a notch and you want to
Or
get
you
like
think
really.
they have a little bit more follow through?
Yes, 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 100%. With craziness a lot of the times. You know what I mean? When things
Like,
need to
I'll
go up.
show you who's fucking crazy. I'll fucking do
Exactly.
it. Oh, and
Exactly.
earlier I said that more than half of the suicides are over 65. Small correction. That was 55. So, no. And quick editorial on that. 55 and over,
I
which
appreciate you.
doesn't change my opinion on any of the things that I said.
Oh, good. I'm glad it doesn't. I'm glad you're unwavered with what happened there. But that's what I would kind of say. But no, you bring up a good and very interesting point here, because nobody wants to hear that. You know what I mean? Nobody, especially any kind of feminist or anything like that, wants to hear
No,
that
poor
men.
men. Oh, you guys have it so easy in the patriarchy, or you know what I mean?
Right, right.
Really, why does everyone kill himself then?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could just ask that question very plainly, right? And you get a plethora of different answers depending on who you're talking to and what their what their experience is and what experience they have with other people, because I think that makes a big difference too. But that's the other reason, dude, why, again, and this point in time with this kind of case here, got zero sympathy, a little bit of anger, zero sympathy, a little bit of anger.
Yeah, I agree. Like, how could you do that to your girls? Because I think they're all girls.
Yeah, empathy, that's a different story. Do have some empathy. I do feel for the family or whatever, but sympathy for him, absolutely not. You know what I mean? Because this is something like, regardless of your mental state, and we'll take it back to Robin Williams for a second here. He's had mental health problems his entire life. What do you think could be a good assumption on why he didn't kill himself when he was younger?
Well, what do you
Maybe
think?
his
He had
daughter.
children.
Exactly. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
because even though he had lost his mind, was always having problems with self-worth. Why am I even here? I'm not good enough. Still, he was like, but you know what? And I'm sure this was even something he had in his talk track mentally, and maybe something even people told him, like close friends that he like confide in. He's like, dude, you got, at this time, you have an 8-year-old daughter. You got a 12-year-old daughter, man. She needs you, bro. Like, hang in there, stay tough, right? Like, I could hear that, just like as a reverberation through his reasoning when he was younger versus when he's in his elderly, his age. Now he's got some problems, coming up here with his health. He's already past the point where he can use that as an excuse anymore. He's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm done. I'm out of here. I've always had this issue. Now I don't have any scapegoat.
Scott, a lot of good parents, they'll wait until their kids go off to college to get a divorce. Right. And by that account, some will wait to commit suicide.
Yeah. I think it makes sense.
It's just a kind of that priority thing too. Again, and I don't think that the numbers disagree with you on that. I think the numbers directly back that up, that most people that commit suicide are over 55. Because there's something that happens in your 50s. Your kids grow up and move out. You become empty nesters at that point. So I don't think that's an arbitrary correlation. I think that's exactly right. That people are a little bit stronger knowing that there's people that depend on them. So, and I 100% agree that I agree that when, how could you even entertain a thought like that when you're putting your little one to bed at night and you just know that you're their everything, you're their whole world, you're the only thing they know, literally the only thing they know. So how could you abandon them like that? And for that to not click again, wanting to kill yourself, but it's actually wanting to kill yourself in spite of still knowing that so many people care about you and that you're going to fuck everything up for all of them when you leave.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to try to sum up the moral of the story here, because we're right at time, and you know how I love to do that, I would say this: mental health issues for young men and women, very, very important. Suicide, very, very sad, just horrible thing, especially, and I would say mostly for kids and for teens and preteens. That's where we need to focus our energy. If you have verbally or non-verbally accepted the responsibility of parenthood, excuse me, or basically being in charge of other people's well-being, and you take that path, you're a piece of shit. Thank you. Good night.
So thank you for joining us today. It's been a great season 3.
On a high note, Bob. On a high note, we go out.
But for real, Scott, it's been great. This is now 3 years of excellent quality entertainment that we've been providing, and I look forward to several years more. It's one of the most exciting things during the week is doing our show, and I look forward to just keep doing it. Thank you, Stiffies, for listening to our bullshit, even though we're retarded.
That's fine.
But we're gonna continue to be retarded for you, because that's who we are and we care about you. but that's it. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on iTunes, and look for us. What was it called? The Apple Podcast.
Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher. I mean, you name it. We're everywhere, Bob. So, guys, get ready, because after this lovely end of 2022, we're going to be coming back at you again for season 4. That's right, kids, where there's going to be more incredibly stiff cocktails, crazy conversation, and probably some stuff that's going to get Bob or I in a little bit of trouble. So until then, enjoy the rest of this lovely year of our Lord 2022, and we'll see you soon.
And Dak, you're like the sixth best player on your team. Stop trying to win the game.
Jesus
See ya.
Christ. Just let it go.